In response to one of my posts, someone on YouTube has given a list of objections to the Bible. And here's that list. Here's that response. I can't even get it all in one screenshot, so I'm going to try to take it a piece at a time. First of all, you know that does not make sense, and God would not wait 2,000 years after Moses. Galatians 4:4 says that when the time was right, God sent Jesus. That idea of the time being right has been studied. There's a book I read, and it's an old book now because I read it a long time ago, called New Testament Times, that is really based on Galatians 4:4. A whole book on why that was the right time. Our pastor also gave an excellent sermon on that, giving us, I believe, 3 points on why that was the right time. One of them in that there was a more or less universal language of Greek. Another one, there was Pax Romana, the Roman peace. All the roads Rome built, and people could travel in relative safety all around the known world at that time. A good time for Jesus to come because it was a time when his message could be proclaimed basically to everyone. Then there's the thing about God living outside of time. 2,000 years, what is that to a being living outside of time? He does what he wants when he wants. And the next thing, to tell us God is 3 in 1, and that may be somehow associated with that 2,000 years, that God waited a long time to tell us that, but it's actually hinted at throughout the Old Testament too, beginning with God saying, "Let us create man in our image." But I wouldn't call that a big point. What's next? Colossians was written by Paul, the self-proclaimed apostle. Yes, a self-proclaimed apostle, but accepted for his ministry and his mission in Jerusalem by none other than Peter himself. Moving on. And no one knows John's last name or father's name. Yeah, we do. Bar Zebedee. Zebedee. Okay. Why were the Gospels written 70 to 110 years after Jesus? Here's a book, Rethinking the Dates of the New Testament, and this author puts the Gospel of Mark at 42 to 46 AD. That's like within a decade of the death and resurrection of Jesus. The point is, the 70 to 110 years is a disputable thing. You can argue it. Here's the thing. The oldest fragment of the New Testament that we have is a small fragment of the Gospel of John, dated at 125 AD. All that means is the Gospel of John was written before 125 AD. And to say it was written at like 124 AD or 110 AD is an argument from silence. And I know a lot of really educated scholars say things like that, but the bottom line is we don't know. Other scholars place the writings of the Gospel and other New Testament works much earlier. He spoke Aramaic, but they're in Greek. Have you talked to him? Yeah, Jesus spoke Aramaic. Maybe he spoke Greek. Greek was like the universal language back then, much like English in the Western world is now. And the Gospels were not written by Jesus, and they're not written for Jesus. They're written for us. They were written for the people of that time. And it just made sense to write them in Greek.